Rachelle, hi, welcome.
Thank you.
You
Great to
are
be
the
here.
you are the executive director of the Troy Miami County Public Library. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Excellent. Well, thank you for taking time out of your busy day to talk to me today. And so, Rachelle, tell me a little bit about yourself and where you grew up.
I grew up in a couple different places. The majority of the time was spent in St. Mary's, Ohio,
Okay.
with a side trip to Eastern Pennsylvania for a few years. And then ended up in Troy after I graduated from college and have been in this area ever since.
So, where'd you go to school?
College?
Yeah.
Okay, so I got my undergraduate degree at Miami University,
Okay.
double majored in journalism and political science. And
Okay.
then, yeah, and so a lot of people don't end up as librarians as their first careers, and that was true for me. So I was a journalist at first. And then I went back to school and got a master's degree in library and information science from the University of Illinois at
Okay.
Urbana-Champaign. And then I also have an MBA from Bluffton.
Wow. So a very highly educated person, because yeah, I mean, it's like I work in the nonprofit world, as you know, and I've never met anybody who was like a fifth grader and said, "Oh, I want to run a nonprofit when I grow."
Right, right, exactly.
You just kind of end up doing it. So, how did you end up wanting to study library and information sciences?
It was an accident, a total accident. I always tell people, and I think it gives me a unique outlook on my job too, because when I was fresh out of school, and I actually rarely, this is terrible to say, but I rarely used the library, even in college, unless I was forced to. I remember, this is going to date me, but my statistics professor actually gave us um an assignment to go to the lab and send an email to him because email wasn't a thing.
It wasn't a thing. Yeah.
And that was like, and it was like, oh, it was terrifying to go do that. No, I think it took me hours to figure out how to send that first email. But anyway, so I had twins, and being a journalist was not a family friendly career at all. I remember taking them to a fatal accident, and they were like 5 months old in the back of the car, and I'm thinking, what am I doing? So I just started looking for something else that I thought would just fit better. And I saw an ad for a position at the Milton Union Library, and it said it was a PR, marketing and PR, which there was very little of that, but it was a lot of customer service. I worked the CERT desk primarily, and I just kind of fell in love with libraries with that job. The Milton Library is a fantastic place, and it's a small town libraries, and you get to know people really well there. And I just kind of fell in love with it. And I had a director there who encouraged me to go back to school and move on. And so that's kind of what I did. So.
Awesome. And so then you get your master's degree of library and information science. I'm terribly curious. What does the coursework look like? Do you have to like know the Dewey Decimal System and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, they assume that you already do know that, but there was very little management. I did have a change management course. That was back when change management was the thing. I did coursework on how to do a reference interview, because probably, as you know, people will come in with needs, but they rarely know how to explain what they need. We'll get people that say, I want the red book. I had a red book, and it was about this. And it's, we have a lot of red books here, so it was just kind of learning how to talk to people and try to get that kind of information out of them, what they actually need versus maybe what they're saying. So gosh, I don't know. That was 20 years ago. And I actually remember looking at the coursework because Illinois is very data driven and techy. Back then, we actually had to submit our assignments as web pages, so I had to learn HTML to do my coursework.
Oh my goodness!
I know, and so I learned a lot back then. I don't even know if people use HTML anymore, but yeah, so just things like that.
And so, if I remember correctly, you actually worked for the Troy Daily News for a while.
I did for 4 years.
Yeah. So what was that experience like? How did you get to know the community as you were reporting?
Right. Yeah, I was there in the Nancy Bowman, David Fong, Dave Lindemann era.
Okay.
So I had a lot of really good experiences, good mentors, and good. I do every now and then kid Dave Fong for dancing on my desk on deadline, but that did teach me, to put my head down and get my work done while there are distractions all around me. So yeah, no, it was a good way to learn things. I was the police reporter there for a period of time, so hence why I'm taking my kids to a fatal accident in the car. But so I had to listen to the scanner, back then it was an actual scanner. I think people do that on their phones now, but yeah, so I'd go to the fire station and the police station and the sheriff's department every day and look at reports and things like that and try to get stuff done. I think my deadline was like 7:45 or something like that. It was really early in the morning, so good times.
And it was like I can only imagine the things that you saw in the police blotter that you wanted to put but weren't allowed to for whatever reason.
Well, I mean, there wasn't really anything like that, but there were a lot of things that that didn't make it just for space.
Okay.
There was a lot of domestic violence that you just don't put that in, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that was eye-opening.
I bet it was.
As a 22, 23-year-old seeing that kind of stuff,
That stuff happens in your own community, and it's like, wow,
right. Yeah. And I did a lot of drive-alongs with officers and things like that, and that was definitely eye-opening.
Yeah, you see a lot. I've been on one of those, and I tell you, what started as a fairly calm day turned out very chaotic very quickly, just due to one call, and it was amazing how things just flipped on a dime.
Mm-hmm.
So, how long have you been the executive director of the Troy Miami County Public Library?
17 years.
17 years, and I'm sure in those 17 years, not much has changed in the world of library administration. One thing that is unique about libraries in Ohio, if I'm correct, is like they're kind of like their own form of local government, and you have a specific district that you serve. And
Correct.
What is that district?
So per the Ohio Revised Code, we are a county district library. So we, as the Troy Library, serve the school districts that don't have school district libraries in Miami County, which is Bethel, Miami East, Newton, and Troy.
So you kind of got this big chunk of the eastern and then central part of the county.
Like a T, yeah.
So I would assume that Piqua, Covington, Bradford, Tip City, and West Milton all have their own school district libraries.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And in those areas, does the school district run the library? Is that how that works?
No. So they have their own boards and their own boards of trustees that run those libraries as well. For them, the taxing authority would be the school district. For us, the taxing authority is the county commissioners. That's the big difference.
Okay. And so how many people do you think come through the front doors of the Troy Miami County Public Library, or in all your locations? I mean, maybe we'll talk about that first. I mean, you guys have multiple locations and you do multiple things. So give us an idea of like everything that the library does. Uh-oh.
September, October, and November, we have over 300 programs planned just in the, and it's hard for me to remember everything that we do, and we just keep adding things.
So you cut out there for a moment. I mean, can you try to answer from the top again? I'm sorry.
You want me to start over?
Yeah.
Okay. We do a lot, and I usually forget something. So I love and hate this question because I will forget something and then I will wish that I had remembered to tell you something. But
Okay.
I was looking at our programming for like September, October, and November. We have over 300 programs planned.
Holy
So,
cow.
yeah. So when people say, well, what's happening? I'm like, somebody asked me last Thursday, what's happening in the park? And I was like, I have no idea. I know it's a STEM program, because there's just there's hundreds of programs and I can't keep them all in my head. But I can tell you, like, attendance in June, we had 12,000 people come to the Troy Library. Yeah, that's typical. I mean, we had 2,000 people come to the Pleasant Hill Library. And then at the Hobart, we had almost 2,200 come to the local history and the Maker Lab. So, and then the Bookmobile, they saw 700 people in June. So
15,000 people you saw. And now, of course, a lot of that's probably duplicated, but still.
sure. Yeah.
15,000 visits to a library activity for a community of for a district of less than 70,000 people. I mean, that's a pretty impressive number.
We're busy.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2,000 folks in Pleasant Hill. I mean, I don't even think 2,000 people live in Pleasant Hill.
No, I think the actual village is like 400, and then there's a little more in the township, but yeah, they're super busy. And a lot of it's the programming. I mean, we had 3,800 come to children's programs in June, just in Troy, and that doesn't include the teen and the adult. We do both of those too, as your family knows.
No, shameless plug. My daughter ended up second prize, I believe, in the latest art contest.
Yes, with the snail. It was one of my favorites. Yeah. I got to vote in that one.
Oh, she worked real hard on it too.
It was really cool.
She was like, I don't know what to make, and then she finally made it, and then it was like she got the idea and worked on it. It was pretty intense. So I remember growing up as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
The Bookmobile would come to the neighborhood. Do you still have the Bookmobile, and where does it go?
It goes everywhere, and I actually just got to ride on it. They don't let me on it a whole lot.
Okay.
But I was on it last week. And we went to Staunton Commons, and then we went to the Troy Community Park when I was on it. But we go pretty much everywhere. We go to the local parks. We go to apartment complexes. We go to senior centers. We go pretty much everywhere you could imagine. The schedule's on the website if people want to check it out. They go to homeschool co-ops, places like that. So,
well, and not only that, but I mean, you guys make it out kind of into the far-flung areas of the township, or out in the county, don't you? Out into Bethel Township and Elizabeth.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that is the way that we kind of try to reach the areas that are in our service area, but are a little bit further out. So.
Yeah. And, another thing that I remember real strong about the library was that every summer was the summer reading program. Is that still going? I know you still do it. Is it still going strong?
Yeah. We had about, I think, 1,500 or so actually sign up for the summer reading program. And this week is the turn in your reading logs for prizes week. We're doing, no, see, this is where I always mess. We're doing like experience. One of those things I have to remember. We're doing experience type things for prizes, like, and I have no idea what any of them are. Terrible. Scene 75 is like one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, things like that. Yeah. So, yeah, better. We thought that would be a good way. And if I say it, I'll be wrong, but I know there's like, because we did tickets to Kings Island earlier in the year. So I know that's not one of the final prizes, but it's all experience-based prizes. So hopefully people will get their reading logs in and be eligible for prizes.
Well, the prizes sound a lot cooler now than when I was a kid, because usually you got like free fries, McDonald's, and
Yeah. Yeah, we had coupons too for the kids when they signed up. Everybody gets, all of the kids get a book when they turn their logs in still. And they get a medal, a really cool medal too. And some of the adults are taking a medal too. They like it.
So now, two of the really unique things that the library does is, first of all, you have a local history and genealogy library.
Yes.
You don't see that in a lot of libraries, do you?
No, you don't.
And so, what do people who come to that? What are they looking for, and what are they learning about?
So a lot of them are doing genealogy, and a lot of people are doing like a property history. They want to know, how old is my house and who lived here before and things like that. So, so they also have helped people with research on books, historical research and things like that. And then that staff has also done a lot of programs. I don't know if you've seen, I think it was last week, they did the walk down Water Street. They had about 80 people come to that. And they just heard the history of the different houses in that area and the, history of that area. So.
Yeah, my mother went on that with one of her friends, and I asked her. I said, "Well, did you make it past the old Lutz homestead at the very far of East Water Street?" They're like, "No, we kind of stopped at the railroad tracks." So.
Yeah, they were just really happy that they didn't have the police called on, because a mob of 80 people, they were.
Yeah, it looked like it was super well attended, and it
Yeah.
looked like it was a great time. And yeah, you want to talk about one of the most historic streets in Troy. I mean, that Water Street would definitely be on the top of that list. I'm just curious, are there any specific families that kind of people want to learn about other than their own here in town?
The bathtub murder is kind of a big one that people ask about, that ebbs and flows, some of the more gruesome things. Yeah. they get asked about that kind of stuff every now and then. So yeah.
Any other historic events in Troy that end up drawing people to this?
Oh gosh, you'd have to ask Patrick. Yeah. I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah. I know that one though. Every now and then he'll
you guys also have a maker's lab.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So that opened about 2 years ago, and it's just a place for people to try out different types of technology that they might not otherwise get exposed to. So we have everything from basic CNC equipment to a vinyl printer that's very popular. It's booked out weeks in advance, unfortunately. So we've got sublimation there, and there's also a classroom that people can, use as needed, and it seems to be going pretty well. So.
And not only do you have the stuff there, I mean, you guys have done a really good job of like having programming so that you can learn how to use the stuff.
Yeah.
My family just I wasn't a part of it because I was at work, but they learned how to solder, and it was like they made like these little circuit
things
with the red and green light, and it was like, holy cow, that's really cool. And so it's like, not only do you have the equipment there, you're teaching people how to use it. And, how much is a soldering iron? Like $10 from the hardware store or something like that? I mean, if you're really...
ours were a little more expensive. We bought a little bit nicer.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys did. But it's like, if you just wanted something to hobnob around the house and do something on your own, I mean, it's not an arm and a leg to get into soldering and, you could make circuits, or you could make jewelry. You could do a whole
Yep.
bunch of stuff with that. And that's really cool. The thing is, it's like your maker's lab and the history library, they're not in the library. I mean, they're over at the
Right.
center, right?
Correct.
Yeah, up on
Yep.
the second floor. And another thing I learned about the Maker's Lab is you're getting people from all over Southwest Ohio and even Eastern Indiana to come to that thing, right?
Well, primarily Ohio. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be a Ohio resident to get a library card.
Oh,
But
so if I lived in Richmond, I couldn't use your Maker's Lab.
you'd be out of luck. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. You're not paying Ohio taxes.
oh. Have
So,
you had to turn people away?
I probably, but I'm not that I know of. I know they do get people from as far as Columbus that come and use it, because people do have particular likes and dislikes about certain spaces. So they,
Okay.
they do like that space. We have a bigger space than some of the others, like we square footage wise. And so people like to spread out. So
Well, yeah, and it's kind of have this. It kind of has this cool industrial feel to it. So you actually feel like you're making something in the Maker's Lab, I guess is the best way to describe it.
it doesn't feel like a classroom,
No,
like a school classroom.
yeah, farthest thing from it. Because it's like, and I think there was actually I mean, when Hobart's owned it, I think they did something in there that was something industrial. I don't know. It might have been just the admin building. I don't know, but the way it was built, it looked kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
The big stone, you got the big round pillars in there and stuff like that.
It was actually modeled after a Frank Lloyd Wright building.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So those big pillars are, they can hold a lot of weight. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, one of the things that is interesting about the library is that as a kid, well, there's two things that come up. I just have to tell you, I'm terribly disappointed that you got rid of the old water fountain, because that was the coldest water fountain down by far.
I know. You're not the first person that has said that. Or maybe you keep saying it, so I keep hearing it. I don't know. Yeah.
Hot day like this, that thing would just hit differently, as the kids would say. But the second thing is that the library growing up was always a quiet place. Now you go into the library, it's not so quiet. There's a lot more activity that happens in a library now than when you started. And can you describe how the library has kind of changed in those years?
So I think a lot of it has to do with the programming that we do, because when I started 17 years ago, we would see about 6,000 kids a year for programs. And now we're at over 20,000 a year. And so it's the volume of kids in here, I think, that has a lot to do with it, and this is no joke, we'll have 98 kids for a story time and in one spot, and you can't, well, not 98 kids, 98 total. So kids and parents, you can't have 98 people in one room and then bring them out into the kids area and expect that group to be quiet, especially when the age range is 2 to 3 years old or 2 to 4 years old. It's just not going to happen. And this place is built like a barn. So, I mean, I often say the acoustics would be great for a concert hall, just because of the way it's built. It's not built to be a quiet library. And I don't know who in the 70s thought this would be like a great for energy savings, but, it's just you gave me small windows. Thanks for that. I guess that's where the energy savings came in. I don't know. But, yeah, it's just, I think the number of, people that are in here, and you're not going to keep all these kids quiet. Like, it's just not happening. So we have talked about different ways, because I know there are certain people that would like it to be quiet. We do have a quiet study. Quiet is relative, because our HVAC system is still incredibly squealy and loud, but we're working on that. But we do have like a room, a study room that people can use if they would like to have quiet. And we do have one little area that we do direct people to if they would like quiet, but by and large, it's not going to ever be quiet here.
Yeah, well, and it's not just a Troy library thing. I mean, I'll go to the Vandalia library sometimes, and it's an active place, I guess is the best way to describe it. It's
Yeah.
not what it was growing up, where you had, you didn't have the librarian at the reference desk, quiet.
I've shushed people more in the gym than I have here, honestly. It's like, it's just, yeah. Or I've heard it more at the gym, I should say.
It's like you guys have spent a lot of time, not just making the library, I don't know how to put it, you guys removed like some stacks to put in an interactive kids area.
Yeah.
Where, there used to be just aisles and aisles of books, and your reference department, just because of technology's changed a lot, and you've got tables where people can sit and talk, I would assume,
and do a puzzle. Yeah.
It's a lot different now than even when it was, I would say, 5 to 10 years ago, as folks come through the door. And let's talk about those folks. Have you seen any demographic changes in the people that are using the library? Are they older now? Do you still get young people to come in?
Oh, yeah. I mean, as evidenced by the 24,000 people that come to kids programs at the Troy Library. Yeah. We get all ages. We get everybody. I haven't really seen any big changes in that. We run the gamut here of ages for sure.
And the cool thing is like you're seeing families come in, and
for sure.
It's like I would assume the idea is, you're getting people who are exposed to libraries at a young age that will continue to use libraries in the future. Yeah. So with that, what does the library of the future look like? What does the Troy-Miami County Public Library look like in 2045 rather than 25?
I think that's a good question, and I'm not sure that I can answer that because libraries change so much. I mean, if you look at it from even when, you were growing up, the St. Mary's Library is the first place I ever used a computer. It was an Apple IIe, and they had the giant floppy disk, and I had to take a 2-hour class to learn how to use this computer, and I'm not sure I ever went back. I don't remember. But, that was my first experience with technology, was at a library, and libraries have kind of been at the forefront of access to technology, but is that where we stay? I mean, I don't know for sure. I would like to think so with the Maker Lab and things like that, but
who knows?
It kind of depends on, funding and how that goes at the state level. I didn't see it actually make it to print, but a reporter asked me one time, and I said, ever since I started this job 17 years ago, we've either been cut or frozen at the state level, and we've never gotten back to where we were in the year 2000. And it kind of depends on how local folks, what they want in a library. That's really what it's going to depend on. What they want to see is what we're going to have, honestly, because they're going to be the ones funding us. The legislature's really not. Doesn't feel to me, my personal opinion. My opinions do not reflect those of the Troy-Miami County Library Board of Trustees, but I don't feel like the legislature is going to be interested in funding us long term.
Well, and Ohio has always had a very, from what I understand, a very unique approach to funding libraries. Libraries themselves are locally managed, locally led, but there was always a strong partnership between the state.
There was.
Those local partners. I think it was 2.65% of the general fund went into the library fund, and then that kind of got divvied up between all the libraries in the state of Ohio. There's been talk that fund doesn't even exist anymore or is going away. What happened there?
So from when I started, what I remember is 2.22 was the LLGSF, which is switched to the PLF, and then it dipped to 1.7, might have even dipped to 1.6% at one point. And now the PLF is gone. We're going to be funded at, I think it's 490 million, which they're saying is an increase over last year, but last year we were funded at this year, same level as the year 2000, which was 25 years ago. So, that's not really an increase. So here in Troy, I think we're going to see about a $53,000 decrease, which actually starts because the fiscal year for the state starts July 1st. So that started for us already. And I think we saw an 11%, if I'm remembering correctly, decrease over what was anticipated. So in July for July funds. So yeah, that's happened already for the PLF. I know I sound a little bit like, yeah, here we go again. But it's been 17 years of this, and it's kind of what we expect here from the legislature. It's disappointing, but could be worse.
Yeah, and that timeline's a lot similar to what happened to the local government fund. The local government fund was always kind of a subset of the state's general fund, in which dollars would go back to townships, cities, villages, and counties to do things, roads, fire departments, police departments, all those things. And then that just kind of got whittled away and whittled away and whittled away. I think it actually disappeared, but I think it has come back in a very different form than when it was. And it's like, it comes back to kind of like this theory where it's like the state worries about state things and the locals worry about local things. And I can understand that. I get that operating principle. But what tends to happen is that as the state takes their funding sources away for activities like libraries, locals have to pick up the freight on that, and that ends up meaning higher taxes. And fortunately for you guys, you went to the ballot in May and you were able to get a tax levy passed. How much was that tax levy for, and how long will it be on the tax rolls?
It's $1 million. It will be for 5 years, and it will generate $1.6 million, which will be extremely helpful for us if, we don't see the revenue until 2026, because we, passed it this year. But we are going to reopen on Sundays starting in September, because we know people had been asking for us to do that. I think the one thing, though, that, with the partnership that we had with the state, that people are going to see, one of the things people will see change, and I think it's probably going to happen sooner rather than later. It's going to be what has happened in other states. If you go to Florida, for example, you'll notice if you live in Fort Lauderdale, I don't know, pick a city, you can only get a library card in that city. You can't go. Like if you live in Troy, you can only get a library card in Troy. You can't go to Dayton and get a card. And I think that's probably going to be what starts to happen, because as we lose state funding and more of the funding becomes local, libraries are going to have to prioritize the people that are paying for the funding. And, if our local people are wanting to get the Maker Lab equipment over somebody from Cincinnati, and they want to get their books sooner than somebody from Dayton or what have you, I just think you're going to see libraries start to, and they already have, especially with the cards for Libby and the digital collections. I've seen some of the libraries that have started to say, okay, you can have a digital card for 3 months, then you have to come in. And, if I'm getting a card in Sandusky, digital card, I'm not going to drive up to Sandusky to come in. And so that's one way that libraries are kind of pulling their services back a little bit from being statewide. And I think that's what's going to happen. One of the things the legislature doesn't maybe understand is that we have a lot of consortia and we share a lot of resources. And I'm not sure how that's going to work when we're all locally funded, I can just see people pulling back and saying, my resources are fine for my people because they're paying for it. And I think that will be, hopefully it doesn't happen. But I think that will be really unfortunate if it does, for the greater good. But that's what happened. That's how all the other states operate when their libraries are locally funded. It's, you live in Piqua, you use the Piqua Library only. You live in Troy, you use the Troy Library only. And yeah.
Yeah, that's because I think about one of the programs that different library districts use. It was kind of like the interlibrary loan. If I went to Troy and I was looking for some obscure book that you didn't have, but there was one available in Dayton, you could arrange for that physical copy to get to Troy and I could borrow it. Those things could be gone, right?
Could be. I think Dayton is losing $300,000, something like that, with this new, with the cut at the state level. So I know they're changing their hours starting this fall. Their hours are shrinking a little bit. So things will be changing.
Well, and that comes on the heels of them just going through a very massive 10-year project where I think every library was rebuilt in the whole Dayton, Montgomery County public library system. And it also presents different challenges because you guys do other programming that's still literacy based, but not necessarily library based. Dolly Parton's Imagination Library comes to mind. That's kind of a county-wide program, but
right.
You're still serving folks in Piqua, Covington,
Correct.
Tip City, West Milton, but those aren't out of your districts. Will those budget changes have an impact on that program?
So that program is one that we have always funded with grant dollars. We've never used taxpayer dollars, except we might have the first year because it grew way faster than we anticipated. So I would anticipate that as long as I can come up with the grant dollars for that program, we will continue to be the local program partner. And if we don't continue as the program partner, somebody else would pick it up, I would think. Because it is a statewide program at this point.
And it's a pivotal program. It gets books in the hands of kids from newborn to age 5. It's been a well-known priority of the governor to have this program up and running throughout the state.
Right.
He's really challenged locals to make it happen. And if you take a look at some of the stats from Western Ohio, Miami County is right up there. Shelby County hits it out of the park. So, these programs definitely are well used by the community, and it appears that they're well loved.
Yeah, I think it's a great program, and because of brain development in children before the age of 3, it's incredibly important that parents are reading to them. And we know not all parents have the time or inclination to go to the library, so this takes books directly to the parents. And we've been incredibly fortunate that we've had the partners that we've had the last 2 years with Upper Valley Medical Center. So they've provided the majority of the funding for the program, and hopefully they continue to do that. We'll see. But a plug for that. But yeah, it's a fantastic program. There's been 40 plus studies that have shown the efficacy of the program and that it really works. And I don't know anyone that can really refuse a toddler with a book in their hand that's repeatedly pulling on your leg saying, read to me. So yeah.
And so, we think about the library, we think about where you're at, financially, with kind of like the dollars being not as many coming from Columbus as there used to be. Mm-hmm. And some of the local dollars are helping supplant that. But a lot of that's just kind of going to the operations. A lot of that's just kind of going to keeping the lights on. Mm-hmm. Libraries have changed greatly over the years, and they have different capital needs. So what kind of capital needs does the library have?
Oh, should I grab my facilities plan? I just got it here. I gotta go. There it is. We actually are and have been in the process for several months now. Um, and that's another way that we're different from libraries in different states is we are responsible for all of our capital projects. So and funding them, and we are embarking on a $1.5 million HVAC project to replace our HVAC system. It's original to the building, has Chrysler motors in it, which they stopped making in 1976. I actually like the system kind of because there's like no computers in it. So it's, you can just take a part out and take it and get it machined when it breaks. I mean, that is expensive and it's not cost effective, obviously, but it is replaceable. But yeah, it's a terrible system. I had a lady come in one time and she said, I asked the people at the front desk what that noise was, and they had no idea what I was talking about. And I said, ma'am, they've been listening to that noise for so long, it's white noise to them. They don't even hear it. It's just this horrible noise on the Hobart side of the building. But yeah, so we will be closed in the mornings the last week of August because it's, I think, the 25th through the 29th, because they'll be putting the ductwork up. So it's actually finally getting started where people can see. We've been doing it for months with the architect and bidding the project and getting an architect and all of that. But so the ductwork will go up the last week of August. So we'll be opening at 1. They'll have gotten 8 hours of work in every day by then. But and then hopefully it'll be done by Christmas. But the entire system is going to be replaced. So so we have that. We're needing new roofs. And we have
Oh, she cut out again. So
we have a 2 months. Oh, there you are. All right.
there we go. Yeah. So you're talking about the roof.
Yeah, we've got the roofs in a couple of years we'll need replaced. What else? All the brick needs tuck pointed, and a few spots need repaired. The carpet in here is about 12 years old, so that's nasty. Think about all this. I just told you a number of people that come in here in a month, so it needs replaced. What else do we have on there? The Pleasant Hill Library, we actually lease it from the village, so they do a lot of like they take care of the HVAC system and things like that. We just take care of the interior. The sliding doors we need to replace in 2029. The windows are original to the building, so we're planning to replace them in 2027. I think that was over about $180,000, I think. So
how old is the building? I mean, it was
1976. So
okay. So if next year's 50 years.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
One of the interesting things about the building, and you kind of talked about it, was that it's architecturally different than anything you see in Troy. I mean, just kind of the shape of the building. I remember as a kid, it had the solar panels on the roof.
Least cost-effective experiment ever, but they did learn things from it, so that's good.
Yeah, and it had that really cool, like, I don't know, like monitor thing on the wall.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of that.
Where you could like press a button and it showed how the whole thing worked and how many kilowatt hours was produced and all that other stuff. And yeah, so I mean, the building was a little bit of an experiment, and now some of that is kind of coming due, I guess is the best.
Yeah.
Does the building have 50 more years in it?
Oh yeah, this is my facilities manager has allowed me to see the beauty in the building. He's helped a lot because it is built like a barn, and like as far as acoustics and things, it's not great for a library, but as far as being sturdy and well built, it is that. And it just needs to be well taken care of, and it has been. So it definitely has another 50 years in it.
And it's got to be a lot better than, the Hayner Center when it was the library.
Yeah, those floors would not have been able to hold the amount of weight these books, weigh. So
I mean, that is so true.
Yeah.
I worked for the city of Piqua for a while, and one of the big projects we did was rehabilitate the Fort Piqua Plaza into making it the library. And one of the things that I quickly learned was that people have no idea how heavy books are.
Yep.
And those floor joists were built like Sherman tanks because they just needed to be.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and your building does have a basement. I mean, I'm not
Partial
sure
basement.
you can go down in there, but yeah, there's a basement and some rooms and things like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a basement under the middle of the building.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there anything about the library that we didn't talk about that we need to talk about?
Oh, I don't think so. I think you hit everything.
Well, this was an absolutely wonderful conversation we had today, Rachelle. Thank you so much for your time. I hope that our viewers and our listeners have a better idea of what happens at the Troy-Miami County Public Library. I can tell you, I believe a fair number of our listeners and readers have been to the library more than once, and so they're very familiar with what goes on there, but it's always nice to talk to folks that are on the front lines in different aspects of our community and hearing their perspectives on things that are happening. Do you have any questions for me?
Oh, I didn't know I was going to get the opportunity. I should have prepared. I don't. I do have a couple of come meet with the director sessions this fall that will be available.
Yeah, tell us about them.
I don't remember when they are, of course. One's in September and I think one's in November. I didn't do more than that because wasn't sure anybody would be interested. But anybody's welcome to come see me anytime.
So where can people learn more about them?
On our website. It's tmcpl.org.
Okay.
And then if they just go to the events calendar, I can look real quick and see. I'm not going to find it. There's so much on this calendar. We have so much going on.
You're active on Facebook and other social media channels, and I'm sure you can learn all about all of the programming that's happening there. Your entire team, Chloe and Andrea are doing amazing things, and DeMarcus, who can forget about DeMarcus doing amazing things.
Right.
Everybody is just. That was another question. Do you guys need volunteers?
We do use volunteers. We require them to be background checked if they're over the age of 18.
Yeah.
So that's kind of can be a deterrent for some people, but yeah, we do kind of watch who's around the kids in the library. So, but yeah, we'll take volunteers, and DeMarcus is the volunteer coordinator, so that's who they can reach out to.
So yeah, just get on the website and learn more about volunteer opportunities at the library.
Absolutely.
I'm sure it's a great place to volunteer. You could always use people to stack books or, check things out and things of that nature. So that's pretty awesome. All right. Well, Rachelle, thank you so much for your time today. I hope you have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.